is the verse that is blowing my mind this week? And I want to take you to Nehemiah because one, that's what we've been reading as a church. My home church is walking through Nehemiah together on Sunday mornings, and our pastor, Dr. Chuck Lawless, our interim pastor, Dr. Chuck Lawless, has been teaching us, and every single week, Tom and I listen to him. We're like, wow, that is really, really, I mean, it's very challenging, very convicting. But the short story is that Nehemiah was challenged with rebuilding the wall around Jerusalem for the Jewish people. And so he meets some opposition, and that's kind of the verse that's blowing my mind. And of course, there's lots of challenges. He starts in prayer, he starts in mourning over what has happened to the Jewish people, and then he prays to God, and then he just starts building workers, and he assigns workers and volunteers to do this task, this holy task. Well, of course, there are dissenters. There are people who are trying to hinder his work. There are dissenters within the Jewish people, and there are dissenters outside of the Jewish people. And the one verse when we were reading Nehemiah 3 and 4 this Sunday, and Dr. Lawless was teaching us about that. And we were sitting in church, and I was like, wow, when I got to this verse. Let me read it to you. It's Nehemiah 4. I'm actually going to read to you verses 1 through 2, but it's the second verse that is just blowing my mind and making me really think this week. So it's Nehemiah 4, 1 through 2. When Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, "What are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Will they offer sacrifices? Will they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble burned as they are?" That's the verse, okay? But understand in the context of it, it is someone taunting the Jews and basically saying, you're crazy for considering this idea. You can't, there's no way you're going to do this. And he's mocking them. He's basically saying, what are you going to do? Build the wall, fix the stones? You can't get this done. And what I want us to consider, and what this verse is asking me to consider, is have we ever been in that situation where we feel like either someone else is tangibly taunting us in the work that we know? Hey, Mita, we know, oh, that's not Mita, that's Barbara. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Helena. I want you to think about a moment when someone, have you ever been in a situation where someone is tangibly taunting you for what you're doing, or someone is mocking you, or more often than not, guys, it's ourselves. And this is what is really blowing my mind lately. It's what Sanballat says. He says, can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are? Y'all, I don't know where you have been this week. I don't know what you have going on. I don't know what is starting your week on Monday. But I would be willing to bet that a lot of us have moments, or we have a feeling, a sense of, gosh, I can't do this. This seems impossible. Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble burned as they are? Is there anything in your life today that feels burned? Is there anything in your life today that feels like it is just a heap of rubble? Is there anything in your life that feels dead? And this question, this verse is just making me think how many times I have said that to myself, or where the enemy has placed that wanted to place that in my mind to say, Heather, can you really do this? Can you really restart this dream? Can you really restart this plan? Can you take these rocks, these dreams, this work, this plan, this strategy, this whatever that you thought was dead? Can you rebuild it? Really, Heather? Is that your plan? Like that's the tone that Sanballat is coming at the Jews. And Dr. Lawless asked us to consider moments where the enemy would taunt us in a similar way. Where are we most vulnerable in those moments? And so I'm asking you that today because I'm asking that of myself this week, is where am I most vulnerable? And for me, it is those, hey Morgan, for me, it is those those dreams, those plans, those things that I know are of God. I know God has asked me to do this. I know God has asked me to follow through with this. Like, I know without beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is how I'm going to advance God's will. But then I start working on it, and I hear that voice, that, you know, the mocking tone that Sanballat has against the Jews of, can you really bring these stones back to life? Hey Anne, can you really bring these heaps of rubble? They're burned, they're dead, they're useless. But God says, actually, I can do that, because nothing is impossible with me. And when the enemy taunts us to think, you know, that you can't do this, or you can't like start this project, or you can't, you know, redo something. Oh my gosh, can we just think about, are there any of us that have moments where they feel like they need a second chance at something? And God says, actually, yes, I can. Don't listen to that, because that's not the truth. That's not what I've set before you. What I've set before you is what I've asked you to do. And if I am on your side, then you're going to get it done, because the one who calls us is faithful to accomplish whatever he has put in our path to accomplish his will. And so that verse is just blowing my mind. And I'm trying, like, when I hear it come up this week, when I hear that same tone of, can you really bring these stones back to life, Heather? Or, you know, Heather, can you really get this program up and running? Heather, can you get this next Bible study finally written and published? Heather, can you, can you do this thing for your family that you've been working on, that you think there's no way you're going to accomplish it, but you know, this is what God has called you to do. What I want to challenge us both is to say, you know what, God, I am going to trust you. I'm going to trust, just like Nehemiah did, that you placed a calling on his life and that he knew this was his will to rebuild the wall. And to say, regardless of the dissenters, that we will move forward in faith with God, and we will move forward and say, you know what, I'm not going to listen when the enemy taunts me with that. Because here is what Nehemiah continues to say. He says, "Hear, O our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their heads. Give them over as plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders." And so what I would encourage you to say is, when you hear that from yourself, when you hear that inner monologue, doubting whether or not you can do what God has asked you to do, turn to God and say, "Here, oh God, the enemy is putting lies in my head. I believe you. I believe that I can do this by your strength, not mine. But I believe that I can do and move forward in what you've called me to do today, simply because I trust you. I'm not going to trust these lies. I'm not going to trust anyone that's trying to mock your plan or derail me from moving forward." And what I would challenge you and I both to do is take a baby step forward, no matter what that is. I've got my baby step tomorrow. I'm going to make a phone call. That's my baby step. I'm going to make a phone call, and I'm going to send an email that I need to send, that I've been waiting to send for about a month now, and I need to just send it. And I keep thinking, Heather, can you really do that? Are you you should just let it go. You should give that one up. And I'm not, because of this right here. And so I'm challenging you to kind of join me in that this week, is take the next baby step. What's the next baby step of faith that you need to take that will move you towards God's will for your life? And when you hear that mocking tone of someone else or the enemy that is in your head, and say, you know what, that is not the truth. God's truth says that it's his strength that enables me to do his will for my life, and that he will give me endurance. He will give me faith. He will give me all that I need to accomplish what he desires for my life. And so I'm going to move forward in baby steps of faith. Will you do that with me this week? I'm going to make a phone call tomorrow. Hold me accountable. Somebody asked me about this tomorrow. I'm going to make a phone call tomorrow, and I'm going to send an email. Okay? I'm putting it out there. Phone call, email. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful week.